Yesterday, I thought it would be really, really, really funny to kind of take a bit of the piss out of the current situation of, well, canceling entertainment media and all that jazz. So I posted this on Twitter. Breaking: Disney and Marvel Studios are pulling Captain America Civil War from streaming to facilitate a name change and add a disclaimer on the importance of the Sokovia Accords. Now, what was really funny about that was there were people who believed me, even though the last line clearly says the Sokovia Accords, which isn't a real thing. People out there believed me. They believed that this is something that Disney would do. And the reason why it worked was because this is what's happening. We're seeing Hollywood right now attempt to kind of preemptively cancel itself in order to avoid the mob. And that's legitimately what it is. It's legitimately what it is. And I don't view that as being a progressive way forward. I view it as capitulating to something that doesn't exist yet. Because they're afraid of what's going to be happening, especially given the current pandemic. There's not enough of distractions out there for people, so all of these things are coming to light. But before we really dive in, let me just fully explain, because I'm sure people out there are going to try to say, oh, you're just a right-winger, Matt. No, I'm actually very much a lefty progressive. I'm a lefty progressive who supports, in theory, a lot of what is happening. But I feel that they're doing it the wrong way, and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So there's that. I just want to make that abundantly clear about my own personal politics before we dive in. People who know me know that I'm pretty left, but I'm also a rational individual. And what we're seeing is not rationality. What we're seeing is a response. We're seeing a response to fear. And that's all it is. That's really what it boils down to. I mean, just before going live, this article popped up on Variety. Politicians demand the John Wayne Airport change its name over racist history. Yeah, the John Wayne Airport, that's in Orange County. They wanted to change its name because of John Wayne and his history. Now, was John Wayne a saint? No. Did he say some pretty bad things? Yeah. Did he do that Genghis Khan movie? Oh yeah, that happened. But at the end of the day, what does it change? What does it matter? People aren't going to remember John Wayne for those things. It's not like the Confederate statues that are lionizing and immortalizing, people who liked slavery. I mean, John Wayne said some pretty bad things. I've read I think it was like a late 70s interview in Playboy was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Right. I read that interview. I remember when that came out a couple years ago, they tried to preemptively cancel John Wayne once again. The dude's dead. The guy's dead, So we'll have to wait and see if that happens. But given where things are right now, I kind of expect it to happen, even though I think it's utterly ridiculous. Not only that, you have this popped up yesterday. Netflix and Hulu have deleted the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons episode from Community due to alleged use of blackface. And what they're referring to here is an episode from season 2. In my opinion, the best episode of season 2 outside of the paintball episodes, where apparently Chang dressed up as a drow, which is a dark-skinned character from D&D. And that was the alleged use of blackface. The Office had had cut out a scene from a Christmas episode where there was blackface that was used. I mean, we're seeing this now more and more and more and more and more. We're seeing this. So when I make the joke about Captain America Civil War having a name change, you can see why there would be a lot of reason to believe that. And I also posted that yesterday because in the state of Oregon, where it's my home state, not where I'm at right now, but it's my home state, the University of Oregon had said that they're no longer going to use the term Civil War in order to discuss the rivalry between Oregon State University and the University of Oregon, the Ducks versus the Beavers. It's an ongoing, long tradition. It's a long rivalry, friendly rivalry between two colleges in the state of Oregon. And that's why it's called the Civil War, because it really does. Like, there is a line. in the state. You know what I mean? Like, you will find Ducks fans and you will find Beavers fans, and it's like it's a dumb thing, but it's stupid to sit there and go, we're not doing it anymore. Hell, even just today, Texas realtors are saying that they're no longer going to list their property listings with the term master bathroom or master bedroom. I'm not making that up. At some point in time, this shit just goes too far. You know, I understand the reasoning for it. I support in many ways the reasoning for it. But this is not anything else than just trying to get away from being canceled. That's all it is. It's just trying to get away from being canceled. They don't want to be next. They don't want to be the next CVS that burns down, the next McDonald's the next Wendy's that burns down. They don't want to be that. They look and see what's happening in the streets, and they're going like, they'll come for us next. Because, you know, it's probably true. As these situations explode, as they don't get, you know, as it doesn't happen quick enough because we live in an instant gratification society, you start looking to the powerful and the wealthy. And there's a lot of those in Hollywood. And they don't want to be seen as being part of the problem or being part of the bad guys. They don't want to be seen as that. So they end up doing everything they can to fall on the sword. To quote realultimatepower.net, which was a website that was popular back in the 90s. They wanted to commit seppuku with a Frisbee. And I'm not making that up. That's an actual thing. There's an actual website for it. There's a website here. How to commit seppuku with the Frisbee. I'm not kidding. I'll show you guys right now. This is an old joke that a lot of us use because of it, right? Committing seppuku is the ancient art of killing yourself if you get super pissed and can't find anyone else to kill. Ninjas use all sorts of crap to kill themselves. Guns, rope, knives, lasers, spears, etc. Don't even think twice about it. These guys would kill themselves just for about any reason, and often for no reason at all. That's why we have so few ninjas today. And then literally it provides you with a step-by-step instruction for how to commit seppuku with the Frisbee. Get Frisbee, clean Frisbee, make sure your parents aren't around, because this is the late 90s and the internet. So, you know, clearly this is a different time. Get really super pissed, fold the Frisbee, keep it folded, insert into your mouth, push hard until you can't see, wait, die. You know, I mean, that's it. And like this is it's an old meme. It's an old joke. And that's the internet. But that's what's going on right now with everything, is when you look at this specific situation, you can see that Hollywood is overreacting because they're afraid. They're afraid that they're next. And that's the reality of the situation, guys. And it's weird to watch being a lefty progressive, because I feel like I'm a rational lefty progressive. I mean, I have hot takes on Twitter and videos sometimes, but I mean, I feel myself as a relatively rational person. But when you really look at this sort of thing, when you start to break down what's going on, it really does go to show you that the industry is in this massive set of change. I mean, today, for example, this is another thing I found here. It's another headline I'd found. The Simpsons won't have white actors voicing characters of color anymore, and Mike Henry will no longer be voicing Cleveland Brown. After 20 years, he's stepping down from the role. After 30 years, Hank Azaria and Harry Shearer will no longer be playing Carl Carlton or Dr. Hubbard. And then this guy here says, question I have, did this actually bother anyone, or is them just reacting to the fact that someone in the future might come after them? And I thought that was such an apt response, because that's what it feels like here. These people, let's be fair, these people have no problem, none, collecting that paycheck. All right? They have no problem collecting that paycheck. They don't think about these things when they're doing it. They want to, for one, probably put on a good show, and two, collect a paycheck. They don't care about it. And this is what Hollywood always does. We see this all the time. Whenever there's a social issue, whenever there's an election, you get all these videos, all these celebrities coming out, and they're like, vote, 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 vote. And they do like, and they somber, stupid freaking ads like that one we had the other day with like Sarah Paulson and Aaron Paul, and it was just like they shot it on their iPhones and like someone edited it together with like soft, sappy music, and the internet like wrecked them. Am I hearing explosives or what? I think I'm hearing shotgun blasts. Anyway, my neighbors. It's legal to fire guns in this county. But that's why I made this thumbnail of like Hollywood is burning. And the rest of us are just stuck going like, ah, because it's true. When you watch these situations play out, you already know what the answer is going to be. You already know where things are going to go. You already know what's going to change. The answer is nothing. Once this is over, once this is past, people forget. This is not how you get the change you want to see. It takes time. It requires people to hire and promote people of color and different sexualities and genders to tell these stories. I believe that. I do believe that representation matters. But I think in this moment, this isn't about representation. This is about fear. If this was about representation, they would work to hire these people to portray new characters and tell new stories, rather than just bringing in new people to take over established characters with established voices, because that's going to confuse the audience and that's going to make the audience upset. The people out there that they are trying to capitulate to, and this is something we learned in gaming, by the way, when Gamergate was a thing 6 years ago, we learned this hardcore. The hardcore, like super ultra woke liberals, right? They don't buy anything. They don't consume products. They just complain from behind an iPhone while sipping a latte, getting free Wi-Fi from Starbucks. That is what they do. This is not something that is out of the realm of reality. It's real. If you look at a lot of these people, the more vocal ones on Twitter, the blue check marks, if you will, you can see precisely they don't engage with anything out of their echo chamber. And what happens when social media pushes that echo chamber to like ultimately the breaking point? You cannot leave unless ye be ostracized. And that's what's happening here. That is legitimately what's happening here. Is these actors and these people, they're afraid. They're so afraid of that bubble bursting. They're so afraid of being cast out. They're so afraid of being branded the other that they bend the knee. They fall on the sword. They commit seppuku with the Frisbee. That's what they do. And they do this because they don't know any other way. Because they know that in the realm of public opinion, with the let's cancel all Karens mentality that's going on, they don't want to be that next Karen. Now, people might get mad at me for saying this, and I'm saying, like, look, you got to have rationality in these discussions. Like I said on Twitter, just end The Simpsons, end Family Guy. They've been on long enough. You can wrap them up. You know why they won't? There's too much money. There's too much money in syndication. That's where the money is. Anyone who knows anything about television knows the money is in syndication. Like, look at Big Bang Theory. It's been accused multiple times of being nerd blackface. Because clearly, it's not written for nerds, it's not written by nerds, and it's not aimed at nerds. It's aimed at the, middle-aged to elderly crowd. The CBS watchers, which that's the demographic. So it's a show that kind of culturally appropriates young geek culture, but does it in a way that's aimed at another demographic. And everyone knows it. Didn't stop the show from going on for 12 seasons. Didn't stop the syndication rights for being sold by Warner's, I believe, to the tune of $1 billion, which is what they paid, I forget who bought the syndication rights, but they paid $1 billion for the Big Bang Theory. And I think HBO Max paid out like half of $500 million for it or something like that for the streaming rights. Even though it's part of the same company, they still just gave them like $500 million for the streaming rights to Big Bang Theory. Like, I have HBO Max. You will not get me to watch Big Bang Theory. That's what I'm talking about here. Is like, entertainment is entertainment. It's aimed for somebody, but it's not always who you think. And generally it's meant to look at to be a general sort of thing, but oftentimes it isn't. And so it becomes this weird thing that we find ourselves in, this weird world that we find ourselves in, because then it becomes, how do you respond? How do you respond to what can only be described in some cases as absolute lunacy? You know, the right wingers out there, they're going to, you know, pound their chest and go out there and decry the left because that's what they do. But like moderate progressive lefties like myself, you know, we're viewed as traitors because we're calling this out as being completely ridiculous. We're branded the other because we're not falling in line with the echo chamber that our political side is falling into. And that's the problem. Rationality went out the fucking window. It's gone out the window for quite some time. The kind of crap we're seeing right now is, I will say, a direct result of Gamergate from back in the day, because we saw this brewing in gaming and then it made its jump to entertainment. And believe me, as a person who's a fan of movies and television and entertainment, it is exhausting to watch this play out on both sides. And it's all done on social media, and it's all done by people who do who generally don't have much of a say in any of this, or are just talking heads. I'm a talking head. I can admit that. I'm a pundit. I can admit that. I have an opinion. You can like it or not. That's fine. But I can at least admit and acknowledge what I am. But when I look at the industry as a whole, when I look at everything like this as a whole, all I can see is just nonsense. People who are so afraid of losing what they have that they are just going to like throw themselves out there, throw everything away. And they don't realize that this will have a backlash. This will have a cultural backlash. When you start doing this, it doesn't ever end. There's an online saying of never apologize. And the reason why you do that, the reason why you would listen to that, is because the online mob is never going to be satisfied. Think of it like a forest fire, like a raging fire. It needs food to survive. It needs something to burn. It needs something to consume. It doesn't matter. You can offer it up a house. Burn right through it, want more. Doesn't matter. It keeps going until it's been suffocated of oxygen, and then it goes out. And that's the point. It's been, you have to, fucking phone. You have to suffocate it. And this is requiring a lot of people, a lot of rational people out there to come together and actually say, no, this is dumb. Don't do this. This is dumb. Figure out another way. But because that's not something you're going to get on Facebook, you're not going to get that on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. Because everything's so politicized these days. The moderate voice gets drowned out by the loud contingent of idiots that have been able to find themselves in a position to beat their chest loudly. I have no idea why my phone, just like 5 feet away, is still fucking with this microphone. Anyway. So yeah. Will here says, I agree with everything you're saying. Well, thank you, Will. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You know, it's just, that's what it is, man. That's what it boils down to. It's frustrating as all hell to watch. And there's not a goddamn thing I can do about it. There's not a goddamn thing any one of us can really do about it. But the way I view it is this: art, whether you like it or not, is art. It's somebody's creation. Whether you appreciate it or not, that's fine. It's somebody's creation. So just like with Gone with the Wind, they tried to cancel Gone with the Wind. HBO Max pulled it without telling anyone that they were going to do a disclaimer. Then they brought a disclaimer. And they said, this is a 4.5 minute info piece on this movie. And guess what? It was cool. It was good. It gave me historical context to something that I didn't know all about. Why not just do that? Just start putting in these disclaimers of this is not how things are now, how they were, or how they were perceived back then. Give people the opportunity to learn from past mistakes. We know this as a society. When you start to shuffle everything away, when you start to just get rid of everything and try to lock it in a closet or sweep it under the rug, nothing changes. I mean, this is kind of an odd comparison, but look at our prison system. How many young black men go to jail for exceptionally dumb crimes that they don't need to go spend the amount of time they're behind bars on? But they do, because it's a for-profit system. The systems, we find out time and time again, judges get kickbacks from these prisons. So judges instill very strict, very harsh sentences on these people for minor offenses in many cases. How many non-violent drug offenses are in there for decades? It's a for-profit system. That to me is, and guess what? Also at the same time, while I'm on this particular soapbox, when they go to prison, there's no reformation. There's no reforming. They don't learn skills to come out of prison and be a more active part of society. There's a reason why there's so many who get out but end up going back in, because our for-profit system has absolutely fucked them. That's more important, isn't it? Isn't it at the end of the day, isn't trying to go back to the root of the problem more important than self-flagellation, whatever the hell the term is, whipping yourself to the altar of social justice on social media? Isn't that what it is? If you look at our society, the problems that are broken, everything that's broken, you can generally find a way to trace it back to something. And all these celebrities, these feckless assholes, because that's what they are, they're feckless. They have no power. They know they have no power. They have a voice, they have a platform, but they have no actual power. So they sit there and they just go, oh, yes, no, we need to change. But they don't actually care. They just don't want it to impact their bottom line. And that's the truth. That's the frustration that I see about this, is like, I want there to be change. I want there to be social reformation. I want there to be political reformation. I want everyone to be treated equal. I want everyone to have the same access to education and equal opportunities, 100%. But I'm also not dumb enough to sit there and look at the society at large and go, I don't know where the problems are. Nah, come on, man. I'm nearly fucking 40. It's not hard to know where the goddamn problems are. We're in a situation right now where people want change, but they go for the path of least fucking resistance. They do. They go for the path of least resistance. And the reason why is because it's easy. It's easy. It's instant gratification. It's sitting in Starbucks, sipping a fucking latte and tweeting out a TikTok. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. It's lazy and it's ridiculous and it's stupid. It is dumb. You have people locked up in prison for non-violent drug offenses. Their whole life gets fucked up. They get swallowed in by the system. And then when they get out, they have no opportunity, because it's illegal in some cases to hire felons. They can't get their shit back on track. And then they go back in the system. But we don't talk about that. We never talk about that. We never talk about the problems. Oh no. Alison Brie is sad and upset that she played a half Vietnamese character on a cartoon show. I'm sorry. I think there's a lot more problems in the world than you doing that. Fine. You've come to a revelation. You've gotten woke. Cool beans. Don't do it again. But focus on the problems that need to be fixed. And that requires people, by the way, I just want to make this abundantly fucking clear. That requires people to vote, to get out there and to actually voice your opinion in the one fucking way it matters. That's what you have to do. You have to vote in your local elections. That's how you get change. You bring in the right candidate who can help get the thing done. You fight to get money out of politics. You fight to push back against these kickbacks. You fight against actual fucking corruption. But oh no, a fucking TV show has got a voice actor for a non-white character. My God. It's just so stupid that this is where we find ourselves. It's so annoying to be a liberal. I'm telling you, it's so annoying to be a liberal, because that's how it is. Anyway, I'm frustrated because it's annoying. Hank Hill says Jarbo 2020. No, I'm good, dude. I don't need to run in politics. I'd get canceled in a heartbeat anyway. They'd take me out back and just beat me with a rubber hose. It would just be bad. All I'm saying is I want there to be actual change. I want there to be actual positive, fundamental change. I want everyone to be equal. I want everyone to have access to the same education, because I believe through education, we then progress. When you have knowledge, you have power. And we know this from back during slave days. The slave masters did not want slaves to read or write. They wanted to keep them dumb. They wanted to keep them ignorant, because that kept them with the boot to their neck, literally and figuratively, and to keep power over them. And we still have that problem today. That's an issue. A lack of education, a lack of actually well-funded education is a problem. That's a big problem. But it doesn't get fucking talked about. But oh no. Let's rename a fucking airport. Because, we solved it, guys. We fucking solved it. We did it. Raise your glasses. Treat yourself. You solved it. I don't know. Maybe I'm over the top here. Maybe I'm over the top. It's just frustrating to see, man. It's just really frustrating to see. Like, I love my country. I love the people in this country. I want so much for everyone. I want a lot for my kids. And, and I think maybe it's also a big part of it where it's like your opinion changes when you have children. Your opinion changes when it's no longer just about you. And again, like I said, I understand why these celebrities are trying to do this. I get it. I think their hearts are ultimately in the right place, but it's not coming from a place of reformation. It's coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of fear. They don't want to be canceled. We saw this with YouTube. Jenna Marbles had called it quits basically for a while because she had done blackface and she had done slut shaming and she had used Asian slurs or derogatory slurs aimed at Asian people. Shane Dawson has been called out. I've said exceptionally dumb things that I regret every day. I can admit that. I can admit my own faults as a human. I was going down a very different path a long time ago and I said some really dumb shit. My point is that at this point where we are, everyone has a target on their back and people are just afraid. And that's not how you get the reformation that you seek. That's not how you get the justice that you seek. Silencing people, scaring people, shaming people, it doesn't solve it at the end of the day. All it does is make people afraid to speak up and speak out. The bubble grows, the echo chamber continues. And God forbid anyone go against that, lest they be ostracized and deemed another. Batman Sleeper here says, "Man, you're angry today." I got frustrated, dude. I just get fucking frustrated. Because it's there's so much we could do. And I say that my frustration also boils down to me. What am I doing to do more, And the answer to that is not as much as I could. I'm not in a position to do what I would like to do. What I have is a voice and what I have is a platform, and I will speak out for what I believe in. I tried raising money. Thankfully, we raised a couple weeks ago in order to help kids get books. Because I fervently believe in education, and that comes through knowledge and that comes through reading. I can vote locally. I can pay attention locally to what's going on and try to help my neighborhood, my district, my county, my state do better. That's what I can do. That's what I feel I can do. That's where I feel I'm the most useful. But coming out and pandering and falling on my sword, it doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit me. Except for maybe going through the cancellation process first. I know what it's like to be canceled by the internet. I know it comes with that. So it's not something that you should ever want on yourself. But the people that are doing it now, they're doing it to get the sympathy. They're doing it in order to ask forgiveness rather than permission. And that's really what it is. And I get that. It's a self-preservation tactic. Anyway. Batman Superman says the world's changing. It is, and I support a lot of the change. I do. I support change, man. I really do. But it requires people. It really does require people to all kind of put their bullshit aside and work together and not do it in ways that are not productive. Especially when it comes to entertainment, because so many people view it. If you want to benefit this, like I said at the beginning, hire black voices, hire Asian writers, Hispanic writers, gay, straight, trans writers. Tell those stories with those people at the control. Let that happen. I'm fine with that. Because that is at least creating something new and pushing that forward versus let's just go back and cancel everything. Because that makes no sense. It just goes to show you that you should be fearful of your past rather than acknowledge it and then move forward. Let's see here. Do I think there'll be any space left for racists in 2021? Well, I mean, I don't want there to be space for racists now. Being racist, it doesn't ever suit you. That's like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. You are literally at that point just trying to feed anger into yourself for something you have no control over. It's stupid, in my opinion. But there are racists out there, and racism is very much a learned trait. It is a taught process. It's something that gets brought down from parents to children. And that's true. So, let's see here. GDS says 8 minutes, 46 seconds, change the world, good or bad. We're not fully there yet. It's changing the world 100%. And I think the George Floyd thing it was terrible, man. It was terrible. That's what needs reformation. There's no reason that dude should be dead. There's no reason Breonna Taylor should be dead. There's no reason why a lot of these individuals should be dead. We have to change. And that comes with voting, bringing in a new sheriff, getting in a new mayor that hires a chief of police to enact a better platform, better training for local law enforcement, putting less of an emphasis on trying to get people into the justice system in order to get them in, the prison pipeline where there's kickbacks. It's a system that is absolutely full of rot and disease and needs to be culled to an extent, but it requires people to put the right people in place to do it. Because that is what happens. Now, you do get some situations like Portland, Oregon, where they go too far to one way. And instead of actually trying to enforce the law, they kind of allow it to be bedlam. Or downtown Seattle, for example. That's a lot of it. You get the pendulum going one way, and then you get the pendulum going back. And we're kind of in that pendulum swing going back the other direction. Anyway. GDS here says racism is profitable. That is very true. That is very true. A lot of people, I could have made a lot more money if I would have probably stayed, I don't want to say on that path, but like if I would have been more aimed at like conservatives, and criticizing everything. Like my anger, my frustration with Hollywood is because it's not being done for the right reasons. It's being done to protect yourself. That's why they're burning themselves down. But it's one of those things where you just kind of go, yeah, like it's profitable and you can make a lot of money at it, especially here on YouTube, because so many of those voices get booted off the platform for being racist, that if you can straddle that line and not get busted, not get booted, you can get promoted and you can get funded by a lot of racists and sexists and bigots. And that is very true. And I know people that do it, and I'm no longer friends with them because I've watched them sell themselves out completely for ideologies that I know deep down they fucking hate, that I know deep down they don't like, but they don't want to lose the money. They don't want to lose the power. They don't want to lose the influence. And that money comes in and they don't know where it comes from. And I do fervently believe that there are elements of the right wing, of the alt-right, the extremists that do funnel money into certain channels through super chats and donations that are laundered in, so to speak, as a way of keeping those channels afloat to further push that message. And as with everything else here on this platform, if you don't go hardcore enough, people eventually lose interest. So you have to keep going hardcore. You have to keep getting in their face. You have to keep hitting that trigger. You have to keep making them mad. You keep them mad, you keep them ignorant because they're not able to think for themselves, because they seek that dopamine hit that comes from that. And there's a lot of channels that do it, especially here in the movie side of things. Everything is SJW, everything is a leftist agenda. Everything is out to get you. Everything is out to stop you. Everything is out to silence you. Does that sound fucking familiar? Does that sound fucking familiar? Should. Quite a few people pull that shit. Now, is that to say the left are perfect? 100% no. But there's a difference in actually knowing what you're criticizing and then just saying fucking words because you know it'll get you a goddamn paycheck. And a lot of the people that do that, they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. They have no fucking idea what the history is of these situations. They have no fucking idea about any of it. They just follow the crowd. They follow the trend. They're part of the problem. And they do that because it's profitable. And they do that because they don't have to think. They don't. They don't think. They react because people respond to reactions. And when you're trained to react a certain way to certain information, it's very difficult to break that conditioning, especially when you train your audience to also be that level of trained to that kind of reaction. That's a lot of it. It's not hard to come out and use certain buzzwords in order to get people's attention, in order to get people to watch you. And if they're looking for confirmation bias, especially when they want their opinion coming out of your mouth, you then feel the need to continue that because God forbid you actually have an original thought in that fucking pea brain of yours. I'm speaking colloquially. That's what it boils down to. That's really what it boils down to. A lot of the problems we find, a lot of the situations we see ourselves getting into here with this platform come from the fact that it's being controlled by outside forces, people that are funneling money in or promoting it on the outside, which then embodies and emboldens the creator because that person then gets a dopamine hit. They get acceptance into a tribe, which is generally what they're looking for anyway. There's a lot of psychology that goes into this particular job, and it's one that I've seen both sides of. It's very bad in some cases, and it's why I don't really want to be involved with it. I don't mind speaking out on this particular issue because I find it to be kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, I'd much rather talk about things that I find to be enjoyable. That's where I see myself. But I do pay attention to what happens here on this platform, but I generally tend to keep to myself for the most part. Because you're not going to change people's minds. You're just not. That I know for fucking certain. You'd be amazed at how many people, if I criticize Grace Randolph like one time, I get a whole bunch of her people in there going like, you're wrong. All right, whatever. Chris here says, Hollywood needs to grow some balls and speak out. Heck, poke fun at the idiots on the web. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. But it's always the people on the right. It's not always, every time someone comes out and talks about the cancel culture on the left, it gets, Patton Oswalt's on Twitter, right? All that stuff. They get shut down. They get ostracized. They get others. It's a big problem on the left, but they should definitely come out. Let's see. One Step Too Far says, I actually appreciate the fact Jarbo isn't shy about being grandiloquent on a platform that's not so conducive to such flexing of one's lexicon. Thank you, I think. Let's see here. Does anyone ever wonder how the world would be if money never existed? Well, the barter system would always exist, so there'd always be some trading of goods and services for something or another. It wouldn't be cloth paper that we look at as being money. It would be whatever we establish it to be. Bottle caps from Fallout, paper clips, how quickly you can bring someone to orgasm could even be used as a commodity to trade. So the bartering system, all things considered, is not just relegated to money. We humans like things. We like to buy things. We like to own things. I don't need to own probably half the shit that I fucking own, but I do because I like it. Anyway, Sunny Side Up says, I just want movies and TV conversation to be fun again. Yes, I do too. This is kind of me just voicing my discontent and getting this all out there and having a conversation. And then after this, I want to go back to talking about fun shit. Like I want to go watch Eurovision on Netflix today. Maybe I'll go watch that one. Hollywood, way too liberal. They need to be more rationalized. Yeah, there's a bubble in Hollywood, but I'll tell you this though. It's not as bad as you might think in the lower levels, right? Because Hollywood is like, it's a melting pot. People come from all over the country to work in LA, to live and work in the industry. When I was, and the thing is like, everyone has an LA number, but that LA number is like a secondary number. They keep their home numbers, their home area code. They want to keep that because it's like a connection and it's different. And people ask you, oh, where's that from? But you know when to give people your LA number and you know when to give people your personal number because it's a different dynamic. So I've met conservatives in LA. I've met a lot of them actually. People who are just chill, like not everyone is. It's the Hollywood. It's the like the upper class, the elite, so to speak, that have the most attention on them, and they don't want to be canceled. Is really what it boils down to. But the vast majority of people in the industry, I don't want to say are apolitical. They just don't give a shit. They just want to work. That's really about it. They just want to work. Let's see. Grandiloquence is just a fancy word for verbose, essentially. Well, thank you, sir. Let's see here. Sunny Side Up says, I don't want entertainment to turn super bland and safe to ensure that no one's offended. Yeah, neither do I. Oh, and the thing is, like, it's just, it's never going to be like that. But at the same time, it's like Chappelle can get away with it, but a lot of other people can't get away with it. It's a weird thing. Let's see here. Joey here says all these companies are a bunch of chickens and scaredy cats. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Let's see here. Nick Ryer says we need someone to be middle ground and try to understand each other and not just throw shit at each other. Yeah, I agree. That'd be nice. But in the age of the internet, age of Twitter, age of Facebook, that kind of shit, it's definitely difficult to do. Let's see here. Kenneth says, I don't mind movies and television with a liberal conservative message. I just don't want to be preached to. And that is really the hard part of it, isn't it? To like preach, like to not be preached to. I mean, I've been preachy as fuck this entire hour. Like I'll admit that. I get going on a roll, and then I'm like, essentially like 2 steps away from calling your manager. I'm kidding. Let's see here. How long do I think it will take to try to cancel Mel Brooks? The dude's like in his 90s, so like you're not going to cancel Mel Brooks. And I literally think there would be like this massive pushback if they were like, because when the Gone with the Wind thing happened, I think I made a joke like, what are they going to go after Blazing Saddles next? Because that liberally drops the N-word. That liberally does all that stuff. So it's like, right? I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. That's why HBO's Confederate was canceled. Yeah, that was a big pushback. Yeah, it was an interesting concept. That I would have been interesting to see what they did with it. What's funny was they had like, they announced Confederate, and then I think it was like Showtime was like, no, we're going to do an alternate one of those where it's like, like it shows that the South won, but like black people got an entire state or something like that. Or like they're going to do something where it's like, it's a different, like, there's like a black utopia. I forget what it was called, but yeah, I mean, I would check it out. I'd watch both shows. I'm like, all right, let's see what this is all about, what all the fuss is about. Oh, no, we don't. Mel Gibson gets canceled like every single week, dude. Nick here says context matters, even if it's a side you don't like. I agree. Let's see. Different rules apply. I don't think Eddie Murphy will get canceled for his gay humor in the 80s. I don't think so either. Let's see. All big movies had their racism film. Yeah, it's true. They did. Let's see. They tried to cancel Kirk Douglas for his 100th birthday. Yeah, I remember something like that happening. But that's where, like, that's like the Gizmodo or like the Gawker, Gizmodo, Kotaku, fucking Jezebel, like leftist side of things, dude. Like they have to do that. It's like they have to, they have to sit there and act that way because that's what they've built up. That's what their audience wants. The problem though is that we give too much power and too much authority to idiots. We do. Let's see here. All right. If you want to know who owns Hollywood, buy Mel Gibson. Jesus. Fuck off, dude. Let's see. It's funny how more and more Demolition Man is becoming a documentary. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were talking about the John Wayne Airport thing a little bit ago. We need Cosmo Kramer. No, we don't. No, we don't. Michael Richards, he canceled himself a long time ago. Let's see here. So what's next? Are we going to cancel Power Rangers, having the Black Ranger be black and the Yellow Ranger be... You know what? That could happen. That could legitimately happen. That could, that could be a thing. Hey, who knows? Hollywood at this point, dude, is fucking like that. You never know what's going to happen. Let's see here. Gamers X says, I'm so frustrated with this cancel culture. I just want to yell out enough already. And you're not alone on that. You're not alone on that. It's just difficult with social media. It's difficult where we find ourselves. It's in all of these things, it's difficult. But it requires people to be perseverant and to, keep trying a little bit. So there's that. Let's see. Am I surprised Michael Moore hasn't made a documentary about everything that's going on? I've kind of figured at this point he would be, or he could still be trying to get Flint, Michigan clean water, which at this point, how is that still a thing? How is Flint still not having clean water? Like that is an institutional problem. By that I mean like the literal institution, the infrastructure. Like that's another issue with our country too. Like we don't put the emphasis on where things need to be as much as we should. There are actual crises happening in our country all the time. Our infrastructure is terrible. The roads, the bridges, the dams. I mean, hell, like Trump did an infrastructure week, like 2017, like John Oliver tore it apart because nothing happened. Oh, we want to build a wall. How about you fix the fucking roads? They're going to try to cancel West Side Story. Yeah, I see that coming. I see a lot because Ansel Elgort, man, he got that. He got Me Too'd the other day, and he denied it. And then now I'm seeing like all these articles like, well, is this going to dash Steven Spielberg's hopes at the Best Picture Academy Award for this? I don't know what they're going to do with it. Let's see here. John Campea isn't a bad guy. Yeah, I don't think John Campea is a bad guy. I give him crap because, he would charge you to respond to that. I don't do that. James Bond is next. Well, no, and the reactionaries are trying to actually call the new Bond movie woke. It's not woke. If you pay attention, it's not woke at all. They just don't fundamentally understand that characters evolve over time. The kind of people that are mad, like Mr. H Reviews, fucking lost his goddamn mind over it. He's like, it's woke because Bond might have a kid. I don't know. It was like a rumor. And, he's like, oh, it's woke. And it's like, dude, but the characters evolve, man. Like if you want all your characters to stay the same, then like fucking watch cartoons and shit, like actors in these long franchises, the characters evolve. Actors like to act. They like to have characters become better characters. Let's see here. You can't argue if he's a shill or he's a hypocrite, but Camp is a bad guy. Yeah. Let's see here. As people find out that Tommy was Native American and he was a Red Ranger, Power Rangers is done for. I think people have known that, and they just, again, it's very circumstantial. West Side Story is DOA because of Elgort. It all depends on what happens next. Elgort's denied it. And as far as I know, there hasn't been like a larger push against him. We'll have to wait and see on that one. PS5, fuck John Campea. Nah, he's all right. Although I have thought about, like now that the show's off the air, I've thought about sliding into that 9 a.m. time slot. Getting my ass up early, like, hey, let's do Hollywood After Dark at 9 in the morning. Talk about movies and shit. Jody isn't a bad guy either. I've never said Jody's a bad guy, but he's definitely a grifter on some shit. And he lies to people actively. So, call him out on that. Let's see. Imagine having to write a script in this environment. Actually, it's funny you say that. It's really funny you say that because, all right. There was a guy earlier. I read this tweet earlier. Someone had said like they're writing a COVID-19 movie. I can't find the tweet. I did just see that apparently Terminator 7 is not happening. So, no Dark Fate 2. Let's see here. Tommy was green, then white, then red, twice, then black. Yeah, Tommy's been everywhere. It will be interesting to see how woke the new Bond movie is. If it's just like they brought in Phoebe Waller-Bridge to like write better dialogue for like the female characters, like giving Moneypenny and the new 007 like a beefier part. Like there's nothing wrong with better writing. Let's see here. We're canceling all these people for blackface, but no one's going after Johnny Depp for Tonto? I mean, isn't he like 1/8 like Native American or something like that? Like, it's not like full on. But I mean, come on, isn't the Lone Ranger bad enough, right? Didn't that do enough to Johnny Depp's career? It effectively killed Arnie Hammer's career, and it effectively killed Gore Verbinski's career. Where has he been in the meantime? Got $50. We'd like to honor that by John Campia. Hey, if you want to give me $50, I will say thank you. Yeah, I could take the John Campia slot. No, I can't. Actually, unfortunately, I can't even do the mornings because I get up and I'm with my kids. I get up about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm with my kids in the morning when my girlfriend goes to work. So I can't step out for an hour to do this. Like right now, they're in nap time. So I got to wrap this up here in the next few minutes. Let's see. Have I heard rumors that the Warner Brothers has a backup plan if Keaton doesn't agree to be in the Flash? They're going to get Christian Bale. That's so dumb. That's so dumb. It's so I don't even like, people are saying, like, I've heard from multiple sources that the story is 100% true. They're trying to get Keaton. And right now, if they're trying to sit there and say that they want Bale, that means that the talks have not gone the way that they were originally reporting. And so they're trying to once again negotiate through the trades. They're trying to, either this is coming in from Keaton's camp that's trying to leak the story as showing it as being a power move, or it is the other ways. Let's see here. You don't see how Pirates of the Caribbean is going woke. Robbie is part of the new Pirates of the Caribbean project, not the long-rumored reboot. Yeah, well, exactly. The Margot Robbie one isn't going woke. It is creating a new character within that setting, and that's fine. If they're doing the reboot with Karen Gillan and she's playing Red from The Ride, I mean, even that's not even really going woke. I think it would be going woke if they completely get rid of Captain Jack. Because the thing is a lot of, and I talked about this yesterday, normies love the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Normies love Johnny Depp in that role. You replace Johnny Depp without good reason, people ain't going to go see it. Like my stepmom, gigantic Johnny Depp fan. We went and saw the last Pirates in like 3D IMAX on like the preview night, and she's like, no, I won't go see it if he's not in it. And that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Let's see here. Sad cascading effect with Big Mouth, Family Guy, and The Simpsons segregating voice actors from characters. Yeah, I agree. It is pretty sad. And it's all done to sacrifice themselves at the altar of wokeness. It really is. And again, like I said at the beginning of this, if you guys made it through my whole rant, I'm a lefty, I'm a liberal, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. I support a reformation and change, but I think that there's other places to focus your efforts. Bale is not going to do it. He'd look silly. I completely agree. See, Depp is pushing 60. He probably can't do much in the way of adventure movies anymore. So is Tom Cruise. So I think if Depp puts down the booze and gets his shit back in check, he'd be fine. How old is age? He's 57. Okay. He's still fine. He's still good. Johnny Depp is pushing 60. YouTube Originals already has a COVID. That's terrible, man. That's terrible. Let's see here. Why do I think Christina Hodson is getting so much work? She's writing a ton of big movies. Is she well liked behind the scenes? I have no idea if she's liked behind the scenes, but like, I'm not the only one that thinks her writing is not good. Like when that news dropped about Margot Robbie and she was going to be involved, there was a lot of people that I saw that were like, criticizing her. And I'm like, oh, good. I'm not the only one. I didn't want to be the only one. I was like, I'm sure she's a fine person. I just don't think she's that talented of a writer. Let's see here. Okay, so Depp's salary is huge. They want to cut costs. Doubt Margot is getting a Depp check. Yeah, and that's another factor too. But they could also go. They could negotiate cameos. Let's see. If No Time to Die releases as planned in November, it could be the #1 box office for 2020. If most movies move to 2021, that or or Top Gun. Or Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman is going to do more than No Time to Die, if I'm being honest with you. Anime dubs will be Japanese actors only. Wait, really? Oh, yeah. I never thought about that. Like, what the hell is Funimation going to do? Right? What's going to happen to like all the exceptional SJW voice actors and actresses that are now going to be potentially out of work because it's going to be considered culturally insensitive for them to actually voice? I mean, my God. Well, Vic Mignogna may not ever get a job again. I mean, for other reasons, he may not, but I mean, whatever. Ted Danson went blackface to a movie premiere back in the 80s. Yeah, he did that, though, when he was dating Whoopi, and there was a reason he did it. I forget what it was, but it's still kind of stupid. It's like Howard Stern did blackface with Sherman Hemsley, and I watched that clip, and I'm like, Howard, no. What are you saying? Let's see. Shadow Nova here says, I thought the whole point of acting was to play someone that is not like you. That is true. That is true. It is. Acting is being a different person. Do I think Grace Randolph's scoops are mostly correct? No. Grace talks out of her ass a lot, dude. Like, you support her in a way that is like, okay. Do I think Tron 3 could happen? I wanted to, but I don't think so. Let's see here. Funimation will be fine. Anime dubs are fine. They have a lot of black voice actors doing work, like Zeno Robinson voicing Hawks in MHA. Yeah, but what's going to happen when it's like, you know, Japanese characters, Asian characters? I mean, it's not just one race. This will move over into other races. This is how problems begin. Is, you know, like, you're going to hear about that. And it won't get as much play, but it could, you know, there was that big Asian film, Asian Renaissance in Hollywood recently. Asian Americans weren't getting a lot of roles. A lot of Asian movies weren't being made. And now we've seen this change when they started greenlighting Asian movies like Crazy Rich Asians. And I think there was The Farewell that came out earlier, I think like last year. I really want to see it about it's Awkwafina, whose grandmother dies and she goes back to China. It looks really good. I want to check it out. Just haven't seen it yet. And so that there's been this increase, this resurgence, if you will. And we could see that. That's great. I mean, again, I think I do want to say, I think more voices is perfect. Tell different stories. Give us different experiences. But it's that, you know, that's how you have to keep moving forward. There's a reason why it's called progress and not regress. Progress indicates you're moving forward. Regress indicates you're going backwards. We're going backwards right now. We need to go forward, as that's really what it boils down to. Jason Statham plays the same role in every movie, and I love him for that too. I do. I really do. Let's see. Let's see. Even though Mel Gibson is kind of nuts with the current cancel culture, do you think his movies in development will happen? I mean, there's that whole thing with like Winona Ryder the other day, and they tried to cancel Mel Gibson again, and he came out and he was just like, didn't happen. And then everyone moved on. I mean, he did Hacksaw Ridge, and Andrew Garfield was up for like Best Actor, you know, and it got a lot of award nominations. Robert Downey Jr. like implicitly backs Mel Gibson, and that goes a long way in Hollywood. So yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Chan here says Mel's name still sells overseas, but probably top project studios don't want bad PR, but he's getting work. Well, yeah. What's that one coming out that he's in? It's like the heist movie in Puerto Rico. And it looks interesting. And then a lot of people got really mad at it because they were like, why is it featuring white people in Puerto Rico during a hurricane? Which is kind of true. You know, like Emil Hirsch is a cop in Puerto Rico. I mean, it's, let's see. Alvi here says the use of blackface in Community was satirical. The people do not understand comedy or satire. Yeah, it's true. I mean, that whole episode is great. It was just making fun of the tropes of that shit. Why does Campia say Trolls 2 didn't do well on home video? Because Campia is trying to argue that it would have done better theatrically, which it might have. I'm sure it would have. But they were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And as far as I know, it's been a couple months and there's been, you know, no movement of it going to streaming or going to Netflix or anything else. I think you can buy it right now on home video. But Scoob came out and then that's already now on HBO Max like a month later. So, you know, and you could only rent Trolls for 48 hours. You could buy Scoop. So there's that. Let's see. Out of these movies, which is more likely to be dropped to POV or PVOD? Mulan, Tenet, A Quiet Place 2, and Black Widow. Hollywood can't afford to delay these movies much more. The truth of the matter is they absolutely can afford to delay those films. None of those movies. A Quiet Place 2 would be the only one. Let me explain. Tenet, Nolan shot that thing in a mixture of IMAX and 70 millimeter footage. So it's meant to be seen in IMAX. Warner's knows IMAX is where they want this thing. Fans who are Christopher Nolan want to see it in IMAX. It's going to go to theaters. 100%. Mulan, Disney spent $300 million making that movie. They, oh, my daughter's awake. I have to go here in a second. I don't know if my girlfriend's home. She may not be, in which case I actually have to wrap it up right now. Let me see here. She's not responding to messages. Okay, so I actually have to go because I have to go get my daughter. My girlfriend is not home yet, so I need to run this up. It's also been an hour. This has been a very fun conversation. I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody engaging. I hope my points were at least somewhat salient. I'm sorry for getting a bit over the top with everything. I do appreciate you guys. I do want there to be actual fundamental worthwhile change in our country, in our world, in our society. And I think a lot of it comes from a bottom-up perspective where it requires us to actually talk about these issues. You can't solve a problem if you don't discuss it. And you can't overreact, because when you overreact, again, it has the same problem. It's just sweeping it under the rug, hoping it will go away. We clearly need to fix things. We clearly need to be better towards not only each other, but our society needs to find ways to be more helpful to those who need it and not shun them as much as it does. Movies are a great form of entertainment for those of us to connect over, to hear good stories, to be told and shown great tales. We emotionally respond to music. We emotionally respond to television and movies and books and plays and comics because they find a way to trigger, to tap into that deep emotional need that a lot of us relate to. They tell us these stories because these are characters we care about, and we just want to see a lot of them respected or treated properly or fairly. Not everything is going to have the perfect past or the perfect representation, but the best way to move forward is to acknowledge that and then find a way to move past it, which would be either ending it or just phasing it out completely, and then move forward. You don't actually seek progress by continuously trying to go backwards. That's not how this works. And the only way we're going to make it work is if we do it together. And I hope that throughout the coming months on this channel, we can have these conversations. We can talk with you guys about this and everything else. And I, again, appreciate you. And there's a ton of people with different opinions here that we can go back and forth over. And I have a bunch of different opinions. Anyway, I'm going to go get my kid before she grows up to hate me. I think I abandoned her. But again, thank you guys very much. I'm going to get the 1-star review video out here in a little bit. Probably, I don't know what movie yet. I'm going to go figure it out. And I'll probably maybe do something else a little bit later, or maybe another stream. So again, thank you guys. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.